It's day 5 now, and the American Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, he's sounding triumphant.
B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, fighters, controlling the skies, picking targets. Death and destruction from the sky, all day long. In fact, yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death.
That's Pete Hegseth. The war continues to fan out across the region and draw in more players. To help us make sense of it all, geopolitical and strategic analyst Dr. Geoffrey Miller joins us now. Kia ora, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Guyon.
Pete Hegseth sounding pretty triumphant there. What is your assessment of how this is playing out?
Look, we're entering day 6 of this war, and it's going from bad to worse as far as I can see. In terms of the regional fallout, we've got now up to around a dozen countries involved already. This war went very regional very quickly, drew in quickly all of the Gulf states with Iran's retaliatory attacks. We've now got an Israeli ground invasion of Lebanon and airstrikes from the air across over Beirut. We've got drones being intercepted, going as far as air bases, NATO air bases in Turkey. Just across the region, it's just chaos and destruction and devastation.
The Israelis and the Americans are vowing to keep striking Iran. How long can they sustain, do you think, in terms of their counterattacks?
Look, the firepower of Israel and the United States in particular is unmatched, and you would expect that they can continue this war from the air for quite a long time. It may require bringing in additional ammunition from the likes of Asia, from the Korean Peninsula, for example. That's going to have potential ramifications there, but the US is the biggest military in the world. No doubt they've got more ammunition, more firepower up their sleeve. The issue is that you cannot win this war from the air. And that's the problem. What is the end game of this war? Iran is showing that it's showing no mercy against the Gulf states. It's continuing to fight back, and just in the last half hour or so, there have been new strikes on Bahrain, also towards Israel from Iran, and that's despite all of these strikes from the air from Israel and the United States on Iran for now more than 5 days. Iran has still got the ability to fight back. That's in part due to the fact that they're also using these lightweight drones. They're much harder to target. It's much easier to target those ballistic missile launchers from the air. These lightweight drones are much more portable. They're able to be launched from more places. They're much harder to stop. So Iran is using both the drones and the ballistic missiles, and it's still managing to cause devastation and damage around the region.
Yes, and it seems as though the strategy is to engage as many others as possible. I mean, I see that NATO air forces have shot down an Iranian ballistic missile headed towards Turkey, which of course is, it's a NATO member, isn't it? I mean, and they've got a big military US base there. How significant do you see that development as?
Look, I mean, there are a lot of complexities and complications here. I think perhaps even more interesting than that is the question about Kurdish forces. There have been reports that have come out this morning and then have been denied that Iranian Kurdish forces coming in and starting a ground offensive in northwestern Iran. As I said, those reports have been denied now, but it is clear that Donald Trump had a phone call with the leaders of 2 of the Kurdish parties in Iraq, and so you could end up with Iraq being dragged into this war even more deeply. Remember, Iranian forces have been striking Iran in the past few days, particularly airborne, but also in US installations near Baghdad. So, and we could see the potential for civil war in Iran. I think that's on the cards, but also more conflict inside Iraq. So remember, Iran has various militias that it supplies and influences in Iraq. So there's just to give you an idea of the complexities we're seeing here. And I think, Guy, New Zealand needs to be really thinking about all of this. Christopher Luxon had a phone call with Sheikh Mohamed bin Zayed, the President of the United Arab Emirates, last night. He said in the readout that came out on X after that, New Zealand was keen on negotiated solutions, on de-escalation. I think New Zealand can, in a small way, be part of that. New Zealand has had an embassy in Tehran for 50 years. It's had an embassy in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia for 40 years, and has very actually good ties with many of the Gulf states. So New Zealand, I think, is part in a small way of this, or can be part of in a small way of this solution to the conflict, because what we need is a diplomatic solution. There is no military solution to what we're seeing in the Middle East. Going down this path of war is only going to lead us to more chaos, destruction, devastation, and it's no future here.
Just finally, what do you make of New Zealand's position on this and how it's been articulated from the top?
Well, look, we heard Judith Collins just before my interview speaking on this, and saying New Zealand's taking a pragmatic view that basically we acknowledge that it exists. We're not openly supporting it, but in fact New Zealand is tacitly supporting these US-Israeli strikes. Look, I mean, that's a separate debate. It's largely been fought out via the media over the past few days and in Parliament. I think if New Zealand is going to take that line, as I said, New Zealand's going to talk about the need for a negotiated solution, talk about the need for diplomacy. It actually needs to be part of that process rather than just calling for stuff. I think it would be sensible for New Zealand to continue to engage and work behind the scenes to see what it could do, because I think New Zealand's voice is actually more valuable than many might think in the international community, and particularly in the Gulf region, New Zealand is thought of quite highly. So, perhaps there is potential for New Zealand to play some role there rather than throwing more fuel on the fire, as it were.
Thanks for your time, Dr. Jeffrey Miller there.